everyone. This is Jacques, the Inspired Piper. I hope everyone is doing well. I hope you're all taking care of yourselves as we talked about last time. Before I get into the main subject of this episode, I just want to ask you guys a question, my pipe smoking colleagues here. If your tastes change over the seasons. When I started seriously, taking up pipe smoking 2 years ago about now, and discovered, the Facebook groups that led me to this incredible world of blends and stuff like that. I think like many beginner pipe smokers, I gravitated towards the aromatics. So I really enjoyed stuff like Hobbit's Weed, which I buy in bulk, and Thomas Blend from Four Noggins. Really enjoyed these, cherry and vanilla and maple and all these flavors. But I found over time that as I experimented, I also came to really appreciate non-aromatics, such as Orlick Golden Slice, beautiful Virginias. I also very much enjoy Presbyterian, Escudo. So I find especially, I'm finding when it's the warmer season, when it's summer, that I do enjoy these non-aromatics a lot more, especially Golden Slice to me just calls a good cup of coffee and enjoying that with it. But now as fall has kind of skipped here in southern Alberta, and we had snow about a week or two ago, and it's kind of melted now, but signs that winter's on its way, and I find that as the weather's getting cooler, I am once again appreciating the aromatics, especially when I go outside and walk with my dog and have a pipe. I find that I am appreciating those aromatics again. And so I was wondering with my fellow pipe smokers if you experience the same thing, different tastes over the course of the year through the different seasons. Comment below and let me know. So, all right, on to today's topic, an interview. I really enjoy doing these interview type episodes. I did one recently with Michael Curcio of Bishop Pipes and got a lot of good feedback, and it was a lot of fun to do. A couple of days ago, well, let me set the context here. So when I really got into pipe smoking about 2 years ago, I went out on Facebook, like a lot of people do, and looked for groups and came across the Gentlemen's Pipe Smoking Society. It just happened to be the first one that I found, and it's a big one. I think as of now, we're October 2019 now, I think there's over 100, over 16,000 people. I don't know if we've hit the 17,000 people on that, and a very active group and a very gentlemanly group. Now, it wasn't just about pipe smoking. It was this whole aspect of gentlemanly. And to be fair, there are quite a few women on this group as well who participate, including my wife. So this whole idea of gentlemanly, because there is this thing about having a pipe that sort of evokes this idea of the gentleman, which led me down many other paths, such as groups that deal with sartorial styles, men's sartorial styles, the way men dress. So dapperly dressed in a dress-down world was one of them. And there's a few of those that I subscribe to that I really enjoy, where men talk about men's style and looking good and grooming. Men with beards, men who wear hats, which I enjoy. I have a collection of hats and I do enjoy wearing hats, so that resonated with me. And so it opened up this whole world to me of the gentleman. I keep wondering, is it time to bring back this idea of the gentleman? And a couple of days ago, this gentleman, Terry Gregory, posted this link of a video he had just done. He just started up a YouTube channel and posted a video. And I watched his video and I absolutely enjoyed it. The way he comes across on screen, his energy, his topics, his confidence, his humor, it was all very enjoyable to watch, and so I immediately subscribed to his channel and watched all of his videos. He's just starting out, so he's just got a few of them. And so I reached out to Terry to say, hey, would you be interested in doing an interview? I'd love to ask you about why you got into this and what your objectives are with this. So just to set this up, Terry lives in Abu Dhabi, lives and works there, and we'll hopefully find out more about that. And so there are a lot of constraints from the UAE on what kind of software he can use. We can't really do any Skype or Zoom or any of these video conferences. So here's the way we're doing this, and hopefully it'll work out. So I'm recording my question and uploading it to a OneDrive folder that I've shared with him. then he will watch, and then he will record his response and upload it to the OneDrive folder, and the conversation will go on like that. We're each going to record our questions and answers, and ultimately I will arrange all this into this episode. So hopefully it doesn't look too awkward. We don't really have a choice, but I think it's going to work out, and I think it'll be pretty cool. So I hope you enjoy the interview, and here we go.
Welcome to the channel. If this is your first time here, my name is Terry Gregory, and it is my passion to help you to become a better man and help you to improve your already badass, sexy self by teaching you the ninja ways of the gentleman.
Your already badass, sexy self. Come on, that's cool. I love his enthusiasm and his confidence. And so, Terry, welcome to the Inspired Piper. Thank you for doing this, and I'm anxious to hear from you. So let's start with a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? Your accent or your speech suggests Southern U.S., I'm going to guess, but would love to hear where you're from, how you ended up in Abu Dhabi, and how long you've been there, what type of work you do. Any family, kids, you know?
Hey, Jock. Yeah, it's great to be here. Thank you very much for having me. I feel honored that you reached out to want to do the interview. So, okay, so a little bit about myself. My name is Terry Gregory, as you've already kindly mentioned. I actually live. I was born and raised in Arkansas, Little Rock, Arkansas. I was born, so you hit the nail on the head with that one, my friend. Born and bred in the southern south of the United States of America. Moved to North Carolina was there for about 10 years now. I currently reside in Shelbyville, Tennessee. Well, I reside there when I am stateside, but I've been in Abu Dhabi going on 3 years, give or take a few months, but I've been here for quite a while. And for those that don't know, Abu Dhabi is like an hour, depending on how fast people drive, about an hour from Dubai. I live in Abu Dhabi in the weekend. During the work week, I actually live 2.5 hours west of Abu Dhabi in a little town called Al Ruwais. I honestly, I can't speak too terribly much on the project that I'm currently working on, but I work as health and safety on a project where we are trying to build a alternative energy source for the UAE to kind of help them out. If the oil and gas, ever runs out for the country, they have other means of energy that they can turn towards. So I actually work about 30-40 minutes, give or take, from the Saudi border. So yeah, I've been here about a few years, and I plan on being here as long as they'll keep cutting the check, or unless this YouTube thing blows up, whichever one happens first. But so yeah, I feel very honored to be over here. I feel very honored to help out the UAE government and its people. But yeah, I mean, I've been over here for the past several years working in health and safety, and I hope to be able to bring my two little boys over here right now. They're currently in Tennessee right now. My two little monsters, I have a 6-year-old and a 7-year-old little boy. And I tell you what, those two little knot-headed boys are amazing, and I miss the deckings out of them every single day.
Ha! I knew it. You're a Southern boy. All right, Arkansas, North Carolina, Tennessee. I guess that does explain that American drawl that so many people love, and I do too. So that's cool. That's a hell of a story. And working, I would imagine, on these hopefully greener energies. There's so much noise in the world right now about all this. So I think that's absolutely cool that you're working on this. Quite the adventure as well, and being immersed in this other culture. So as you mentioned, yes, you started a YouTube channel, and that's how I came across you, as I mentioned in the intro. You're from what I see, your objective is to talk to men about being a gentleman. Why is that important to you? What got you started?
Yeah, I mean, to me, there's just so much nonsense going on in the world today, and it seems like every day you see videos uploaded on Facebook of kids that are just, hollering and yelling, screaming, and cussing out their parents. And I can tell you this right now, that if I did that to my mom, I'd probably still not be able to taste foods very easily. I can tell you that much right now. It's probably not the taste out of my mouth. So it's, for some reason, it's just weird how some of the traditional values and gentlemanly qualities aren't passed down to our sons as often as they used to be for whatever reason. I don't know why that would be the case, but it's just, unfortunately, it seems to be. I've always kind of been an old soul. I love listening to Frank Sinatra, the Ink Spots, a bunch of those old bands. I mean, I like some heavy metal too. I like rock and roll, but I've always been, I've always been instilled in the classics. And I was raised, my mom and dad, my grandparents as well, they raised me, to honor and respect other people. They raised me in trying to learn these gentlemanly qualities and values. And I would like to do the same thing for my kids as well. It's real funny because at first I was planning on writing a book on this, and I was walking into a store that we have over here. It's called Virgin Mega Store. It's kind of really hard to explain what kind of store it is. They have just about a little bit of everything: books, DVDs, movies, music, video games, gadgets. It's a really cool store. But I was walking to the store in Abu Dhabi one day at the Yas Mall, and I came across a book that was talked about the same thing I wanted to talk about, in the same format I wanted to talk about. It's like somebody read my mind, and it was like, hey, I think this is a good idea. I'm going to go ahead and write a book about it. So I just scrapped that idea off to begin with. I suddenly scrapped that idea, and I tried to find another way that I could go about doing this. And YouTube is you've heard that it's the second most widely used search engine in the world. For some reason, I couldn't get that out. I did it though. But it's the second most widely used search engine in the world, owned by the first widely used search engine, Google. So, and again, a lot of kids don't read books anymore. So I thought that, YouTube would be the way to go. And, right now I've got 8 videos in, and I've got a lot of stuff planned for it, a lot of stuff planned for the future. And I'm just trying to have fun with it, trying to learn it. It's you wouldn't realize there's as much work in doing a YouTube channel as there really is if you want to get any exposure. But so yeah, it's kind of why I started doing the channel. It's just trying to bring back some of these gentlemanly qualities, bringing back the idea of just respecting each other, honoring each other, and it's really sad and heartbreaking the way that society is starting to treat each other. And it's just, you can only change the world if the only way that you're going to change the world is if you try. So I'm only one person, but one person there's always been one person that has sparked a greater movement than what I'm trying to do. So I'm just trying to do something.
Oh, I could not agree with you more. It feels like the world is becoming more and more insane. And you talk about respect. I've talked about civility versus respect, and I find we're lacking more and more of this civility towards each other. So kudos to your parents for instilling these values in you and these qualities, and better yet, kudos to you for wanting to transmit them to your sons. So on that topic of gentlemanly qualities, I've also done quite a bit of reading, articles and essays about, well, what does that mean to be a gentleman? And I find that the same themes keep coming up over and over again. I'm going to put my old man glasses. So it's a matter of choice, right? A man decides that he wants to be a gentleman. So kind, considerate, and chivalrous. So chivalry is something that, yeah, you sound like you said old soul. I like saying old school, but I also believe in chivalry. And despite what a lot of the radical feminists would believe and even accuse us of benevolent sexism, pretty much all the women I've ever polled about this in my universe love it when a man is chivalrous. They still appreciate that, and it counts for points. A gentleman is a learner. He's open-minded. He seeks knowledge, so always wanting to learn. That's definitely one of I'll call it a problem, because there's so much to learn. I'm always wanting to learn. So civility versus respect again. Good manners, so just being polite and courteous is, I think, the mark of a gentleman. Appearance, right? Taking care of your appearance, proper grooming, a certain sartorial style that, you communicate a message about who you are. A communicator. He's a good communicator. He's articulate. He can argue his points with data. He can do so intelligently, not just shout out opinions. He's confident, although, be careful here. Confident does not mean arrogant, but I think the gentleman is confident in what he says and what he believes and in himself. Integrity, so he does the right thing, even if when nobody's watching. Punctual, that's one that's often forgotten in this world, I find. I'm often, on getting on conference calls, and I'm alone there. People forget or they show up late, and so being punctual has always been important to me. Keeps his word. I absolutely love that one. And yes, I think a gentleman, it's important that he keeps his word. If he says he's going to do something, then, deliver. He's got an internal code of honor. He holds himself to a higher set of standards. So, I guess you take all of this, well, that's what it is, right? You're holding yourself up to a certain set of standards, and you have this code of honor, integrity, honesty. And finally, accountability and responsibility. So you're accountable to your word, to who you are and what you stand for, and you take responsibility for your actions and your failures, and you own up to them. So those are the themes that I see coming back over and over again about, being a gentleman. What are your thoughts on those? That kind of resonate with you as well? Any specific ones that really stand out for you?
Yeah, I mean, every single one of those resonate with me. I mean, to be quite honest with you, I mean, once you start practicing those aspects, those different qualities of being a gentleman, that right there is like the foundation. It's like the building blocks of holding yourself to a higher standard, and that's what a gentleman does. I've already mentioned about it several times already. Just respecting other people, being kind, and I believe, and I mentioned this in one of my other videos, but I believe there is a fundamental difference between being nice to someone and being kind to someone. Because anybody can be nice to someone, and a lot of times, well, and I don't want to say a lot of the times, but quite a bit, people are nice to other people, and they're doing that just to be nice. You know what I mean? Someone holds the door open for you, saying, thank you. But, being kind to someone, that's something like that is like mowing your neighbor's yard because you can tell that they have not had a chance to do it. Or your elderly lady that is across the street from you, taking her trash down to the end of the road because she can't really do it as easily as she used to be. So I believe there's a fundamental difference between being kind and being nice. And being kind is one of the things that really resonate with me as well. And that's part of the idea of being a gentleman. And I do agree with you 100% as far as we're talking about, the appearance of a gentleman and such. My next video is going to be the misconceptions of a gentleman. So some of the ideas that, people think of a gentleman really is, but it isn't. But one of the things I'm going to talk about, I guess kind of a sneak peek in this interview is, a gentleman doesn't always have to dress up in a suit and tie. But, a gentleman is always well-groomed. He's always well-maintained. He cares about his appearance. But I tell you what, I love T-shirts, cargo shorts, and a baseball cap. And I'm going to the strongman event next week in Dubai, and that's exactly what I may be wearing. But, I still care about my appearance. I'm not going to go out there, dressing all slouchy or whatever. But, the reason, the basis behind my channel is I want to try and tackle those inner qualities of a gentleman first, and then start to try to tackle the outer qualities of a gentleman. But still, I still feel like a gentleman can still be a gentleman, regardless if he's wearing a suit and tie or whether he's just wearing jeans and a t-shirt. There's a lot of style and how-to videos online on YouTube that tell people how to dress nicely, how to dress, fashionable. I just want to make sure that people have the inner qualities instilled in them first, and they can still be a gentleman. Like I said, we're still wearing a t-shirt and baseball cap.
Yeah, I totally agree with you that one's outward appearance is just a facet of being a gentleman, and I'm totally on the same page as you that one's qualities and character are as important, if not more important, than the way one dresses and whether you're wearing a tie or not. So very cool that you're tackling this, and I'm certainly looking forward to your other videos. All right, on to the next question I had for you. In one of your videos, you talk about toxic masculinity. You bring that up and how you disagree with the term, as do I. I disagree that masculinity is a pathology that needs to be cured, which is, some of the stuff that's coming to light now and following all this Me Too stuff. Now, granted, I absolutely agree with the spirit of the Me Too movement that bad behavior cannot be tolerated and it's got to be brought to light. Now, I'm just wondering if it's gone too far. And, by the way, I see plenty of examples of toxic femininity as well. So, do you think it's become unreasonable the way that men are being portrayed? And as examples, there's that infamous Gillette ad that came out earlier this year, which by all reports seems to have backfired on them, since that division has lost like $8 billion in revenue. So a lot of men were very angry about the way that they were portrayed, and men will be men, boys will be boys. Like, it's a bad thing. Like, yes, boys will be boys and men will be men. That doesn't mean we all act like, idiotic gorillas. And then there's this other article that just came out in GQ earlier this week. GQ, Gentleman Quarterly. This article by this woman, some kind of comedian, who is saying that men should be more ladylike. And I'll post the link to the article in the notes to the video here. So what do you think? What do you think about the way men are being portrayed these days? Has it gone too far? Is it gone a little too crazy?
Hey, Jock. So as you can see, I've got a little change of scenery. I was having some technical difficulties at my last location, so I had to change it up. I wish I had something more interesting to show you, gentlemen, but unfortunately, this is what we got for right now. That the term toxic masculinity is a tricky term, and I don't think that being masculine really in and of itself is necessarily toxic. I feel like there are toxic traits that some men exhibit, such as sexual aggression, sexual harassment, bullying towards other people. But like you said, there's toxic feminism as well, because women bully and demonstrate sexual aggression as well. So it's kind of it's a two-way street, really. But I feel like we as men, we as gentlemen, we raise our kids with the foundational building blocks of becoming a man or becoming a gentleman, and just respecting each other, try to stick up for each other, for being defenders of the defenseless, understanding that a woman can do pretty much the same things that a man can do in most cases. But it's not something that you could paint with a broad brush. All masculinity isn't toxic. I mean, you have this kind of toxic masculinity for the sexual aggression such that we just talked about, but then you also have the masculinity that promotes teamwork, leadership, being that protector, that forward thinker and such. And even women have that same mind frame as well. So it's a very tricky term, and it can really be misconstrued real easily. And as you already mentioned, the Gillette ad, they kind of misconstrued it quite a bit. And I don't feel like the comedian, I read the article that you're talking about, and I can agree with her on some aspects, but I don't feel like men need to be ladylike. I feel like men just need to be men, and men need to be, don't really look down on other people for showing emotions. Because the one thing that she was saying, men need to be more in touch with their emotions and such. And to an extent, I do agree with that, because vulnerability, I discussed in one of my videos, my next video, the Misconceptions of a Gentleman video. I think I've already said that once. I feel like I keep plugging it. I don't mean to, but I try to demonstrate that vulnerability is a tool that is looked at sometimes as a weakness, but if it's used in the right term, used in the right setting, it is one of the most powerful tools that a man has in his arsenal to build relationships, to build bonds with other people. And back in the day, I say back in the day, even now, when a little boy would start to show emotion, or even a man starts showing emotion, they get told to man the hell up, keep it moving, suck it up, push the feelings down. And I don't really think that's the approach we really need to take anymore, because a lot of that stuff, when it's not addressed early in life, could in time develop into this toxic masculinity mindset and such. So I think it's something that is certainly something that needs to be addressed in society nowadays. And I feel like if we just start our kids young and start teaching them the ways, how to be a gentleman, how to just respect each other, and just live together, and don't try to beat down a certain belief onto other people to get them to fit your idea of how they should live their life. To me, I don't care who you love, I don't care where you live, I don't care what you believe. As long as you treat me with the same dignity and respect that I'm going to treat you, then I see absolutely no reason why our society can't be in a better predicament, a better situation, a better standard than what it is currently.
Yeah, so I agree with you there. I think just toxic masculinity is just a little too generalized, and we got to be careful how we apply that. And you're right; it's the certain attributes that can be toxic, as we mentioned earlier. Inappropriate behavior is not all right under any circumstances, and glad to see we're kind of on the same page on a lot of things. All right, another question. So you're talking about men being men and making men better and all that stuff, and we kind of follow up on the previous question. But in this, woke, politically correct, progressive, postmodernist world, this kind of things become very controversial, right? The social justice warriors don't stand for any of that language, men being men and promoting manhood, and it's all gone towards this toxic masculinity. One of my favorite intellectuals that I love to follow and follow him on social media and his YouTube channel, and who inspires me a lot to learn about and look into these issues, is Dr. Gad Saad, a evolutionary behavioral scientist out of Concordia University in Montreal, Canada, actually, where I'm originally from. He's got a YouTube channel called The Saad Truth, SAAD, and I'll put the link below for those who are interested. But he's brilliant. I mean, he's brilliant. He uses wit and satire to point out the lunacy of what's going on in the world. And one of the things he does is he always encourages people, specifically academics, in his realm, in his universe, to speak out against what he calls the idea pathogens that permeate our public discussions, and the ridiculousness of where we're heading. So do you expect any pushback around what you're advocating? And if so, how do you plan to deal with it?
So yeah, outside of the typical trolls and hate mongers that you find when you put yourself on social media, when you start to speak your mind, anything outside of that, even that, I don't plan on giving it much oxygen, to be completely honest with you. I have thought about it quite a bit, but in this day and age, if you speak your mind and you tell people what you believe and how you think, you're bound to offend someone, you're bound to make someone angry. But it would be different if I was actually promoting a negative mindset, but with me, I'm promoting something positive, something more inclusive. And, for instance, back in the day, men held the door open for women. And it's something that's still done today, but instead of just for women, one of my videos I talked about, instead of holding the door open for women, hold the door open for everybody. Just be inclusive, be respectful to everyone, help each other out, such like that. And so if it was something negative that I was promoting, if it was something that I really had to, explain myself for and really kind of stand up for myself, then I might, find a way to tackle some kind of backlash. But I don't feel like I'm going to really receive a lot of backlash for what I'm trying to do, because I'm trying to do something positive. And unless they're just mad at the world, I feel like if someone tries to complain or be offended by something that I am saying, I feel like it says something more about them. It says more about what they're dealing with, what they've gone through, than it really says about me and my message. So I have thought about it, and unless it's just something crazy that demands a response, I just don't plan on giving it much oxygen.
Absolutely well said, my good sir. And I do agree with you that a gentleman will hold the door open, not just for women, but for other men and children and whoever goes by. Non-binary, trans, whatever. It doesn't make another human. Let's just be kind to everyone. And I do, by the way, I forgot to mention this earlier, but I do love the way you're trying to set up that distinction between being nice and being kind. It's, I guess my equivalent would be, the distinction that I'm trying to make between civility versus respect that I spoke to in one of my first videos. I think there's a bit of a difference between the two, and that you're trying to explain between nice and kind. And that's why I always tell people, can't we just be kind to one another, and do nice things for each other and be civil. I take more of a humanistic approach. Every human's got value, and let's cherish that. All right, man. Enough of the serious talk. One last question for you. When you end your videos, you always go like, keep it G, gentlemen. What's that about? Where'd that come from?
Yeah, keep it G, gentlemen. No, so it was something that's I've always heard in different movies or different songs. Keep it G is more of a criminals or the gangsters and such like that. They tell each other keep it G, keep it gangster. 100 represent all that nonsense. So in a way to try and bring a refresh, well, not really refreshed meaning, but a new definition to the term. Instead of keep it G for keep it gangster, I want to say I'm saying keep it G for keep it gentlemanly. So when you go out in there, in the world, respect each other, do the right thing, that type of thing. So it's it's funny, and I get a lot of laughs, and people try to make jokes about it. But I mean, I think it's something that it's pretty catchy. People, you can remember it pretty easily, and it's I think it's pretty cool. I like it, and I think that's all that matters. But that sounded pretty bad. But no, I think it brings a positive look on something that was once kind of a negative, a negative definition, negative way of thinking and whatnot. So just my spin, my new approach on an old slang word. Keep it G.
That's funny. I'd never heard of the keep it G gangster thing, but I like the keep it gentleman. That's sweet. Look, I thank you for doing this. I know it took a lot longer to do, going back and forth with the videos and having a real live web conference where we could, kind of jump in and be more spontaneous and interrupt each other. And if ever, things change in the UAE and you're able to have a more open and direct conversation, let's do it again. But I want to thank you for doing this. I am looking forward to your videos. Love your style, man. Love your enthusiasm. Love your passion. Love the what you're trying to bring to the world. And I think a YouTube channel is a perfect way of doing it because we get to see you, right? So thanks again for doing this, Terry, and take care, man.
Yeah, no problem. Like I said, I had a great time doing this. I would be more than happy to do it again if any of these restrictions let up. I know the UAE government's in talks with Microsoft on bringing Skype over here, so hopefully it's not something in the too far off distant future that we can probably revisit this in a more traditional interview setting. But I just let me know. Thanks again for having me. I had a lot of fun, and look forward to the next time we can chit chat. So have a good day. Keep it G.
And there you have it, folks. That was Mr. Terry Gregory, the beginner gentleman, keeping it G. I love his style. I love his enthusiasm. Like I said earlier, I think his channel shows a lot of promise. I'm looking forward to some of his videos. This kind of interview was a little tedious to do. It took actually quite a few hours going back and forth, and he's got a slower link over there and putting the answers together. And obviously, there's a bit of the lack of spontaneity of a real sort of face-to-face conversation that we could have done typically with either Skype or what I use, Zoom. But I think it worked out all right, and I hope you enjoy that. Subscribe here if you like, and also check out Terry's channel and subscribe and encourage him to keep going. All right, looking forward to your comments and feedback as usual. And I always end up I always end my videos saying happy smokes, but sometimes we're not always happy. There are days that we're a little down or whatever. It's not always happy and, unicorns and fairy dust. But so maybe we should change that. Maybe it should have a nice, peaceful and thoughtful smoke. Until next time, guys. Ciao.